Welcome to another episode of the Women of Faith in Leadership podcast. I'm excited to bring you another guest today where we talk about gossip and the effect that gossip has, well, on the workplace, but in particular, this guest speaks about how gossip has affected them as an individual. And then, I'm really just actually looking forward to you to listen to the episode and just get a different perspective on this. Now, before we jump into the episode, I do have a request. I am planning the podcast for 2025. And I'm looking at speaking to as many listeners as possible. So I've had a couple of listeners reach out to me already, and I've spoken to them. And it has been so amazing just to get all the insights and hear what are some of your struggles that you have at the moment. What are some of those desires that you have as a leader? And so my aim of asking you these questions, and I've got 4 specific questions that I'll ask you, is so that I can plan the show for 2025 surrounding what the listeners are going through at the moment. All I want you to do is to turn up, have a chat with me, and then we'll go from there. So there's no pressure at all, but the more people and the more listeners I can speak to, the better. So if you have 15 minutes that you can spare, please shoot me an email at support@rikawhelan.com and let me know that you're available for a quick chat, or you can DM me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I'll make sure that the link is in the show notes. And it is just a quick voice chat. You don't even have to jump on Zoom. The other listeners have just joined me on Messenger, some on WhatsApp, and I had one on Voxer as well, which is just a messaging app, very similar to the other messaging apps. So whichever one you have available, I'll meet you on there and we can just do a voice chat. And so it's just really easy, really cruisy, and you can answer it when you have the time. But I've got a bit of a time crunch at the moment because I really want to bring the podcast to God by the end of at the end of this month, December 2024. So if you've got time over the next 2 weeks, I would really, preferably the next week would be ideal, but I really appreciate your time and I really appreciate the effort that you can put in. And this is a great way to give back to the show because I know that this show has impacted so many female Christian leaders. And so this is just a really great way for you to give back to the show and to say thank you for the content that's published every single week. So please DM me on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or you can just email me at support@rikawhelan.com. All right, let's jump into the episode. Leading as a woman is tough, but leading as a woman of faith is next level. However, it doesn't have to be that way. God has called you into this leadership role because He says you are worthy. You are His child, and if He qualifies you, who in this world can unqualify you? You might suffer from imposter syndrome and believe you're not good enough, but God says you are good enough. Hi, I'm Rika Whelan, Christian leader and workplace culture coach, and together we're going to navigate leadership with faith as our foundation. Let's get started. Grab your coffee or water, keep that notebook and pen handy, and let's jumpstart your leadership. Welcome, Kadin, to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Rika. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such a big pleasure, and I just love getting together with people from all around the world talking about my absolute favorite topic, and that is workplace gossip. And it is a very interesting topic to be excited to talk about, but the listeners will know by now it's more about eradicating and getting rid of gossip versus just being a gossip. So on that note, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what's your history with workplace gossip?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Kadin McEwan. I'm an autistic college student, writer, and activist, pretty much on a mission to spread as much autism awareness as possible in today's society, since that's often an issue pushed aside for other petty issues. Throughout my life, I was told I wouldn't amount to anything because I was on the spectrum, but time and time again, I proved the naysayers wrong. My advocacy work began with a class project in my freshman year of college. We had to set up a GoFundMe for Autism Society of America as a way to do community service. But unfortunately, my group who helped out with this, we raised $1,085 for that organization and won a contest with it. Didn't take it seriously enough, if that makes sense. As typical with what I like to call the participation trophy generation, my generation, they only wanted to do it to get the grade and the prize money we got for winning, which you could only use at the school cafe coffee house. It wasn't anything too crazy. It was like $300 to that. So I thought, okay, if no one else is going to take it seriously, then I guess I will. And I've definitely had my fair share of rumors spread about me over the years. Not necessarily in the workplace, but in the school place, which is basically the workplace in a way, because being a student is your job until you're at least 22. That's what my family always says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are so right, because at this point in time, I'm also considering reaching out to schools and speaking to them, and specifically high school students, because I feel like that's where it really starts most often, is in high school. And high school students can be really mean. Like, they can be really mean towards each other and not really realize what the detrimental effects can be towards the other students. So I applaud absolutely what you do. And I didn't actually mention in our pre-interview, but I wanted to mention it, and I'll mention it now to the listeners as well. For those who don't know, but I have a daughter that has autism. And so I really love to connect with people as well that's in that space for autism awareness, because people with disabilities and people that are neurodivergent are so often discriminated against, but sometimes inadvertently, and sometimes quite on purpose. So why don't you share with us some of your, like your activism or your awareness that you're creating surrounding gossip and that rumors being spread? What is it that you are working on at the moment?
Well, in the sense of autism awareness, phase one of my advocacy journey, if you will, is talking to school superintendents, the people in power at schools here in the States. Whenever I see an event on the news, I send the superintendent or whoever's in power an email saying, hey, I noticed this incident. I have autism. We should arrange a meeting to chat. And if I get the meeting, I tell them, hey, look, we need to make sure this incident never happens again. Or I ask them, what do you do for people with autism already? I've had one productive conversation with Todd Lambert, who's the superintendent of the Littleton Public School District in Colorado. There was an incident recently with his district where a bus aide bashed a nonverbal student in the head. And I told him, look, we need better hiring practices to make sure that that never happens again. That person was a man child, quite frankly. And me and him were on the same page about everything. So I kind of got that connection thanks to that. But recently, I had a revelation that it might not be fair to pretty much make a hit list of every single school that has an autism incident that makes the news and call them out on their crap, because I hold a personal vendetta against my own middle school. My middle school completely cut off my IEP services without my consent. And my parents had to contact several autism organizations and a state senator because of that. And I think they might have filed Americans with Disabilities education claim against them too. I got to ask to confirm. But as I said, I hold a bit of a grudge against my middle school for that, because that kind of thing is illegal. I asked, but I had a revelation recently that it might not be fair to make a to pretty much contact every school that has an autism incident and chew them out. And I have a new approach now. I can still message the people in power where if there is a major incident like a budget cut or an elimination of an autism school center to make room for something negative, that kind of thing, but not small petty things, and most certainly not with any language that blames them. I should simply focus on offering them a different perspective. So that's what I'm basically trying to do now. I regularly appear on platforms like this to tell my story. I set up several fundraisers for one of my favorite organizations, Lake County Special Needs Birthday Club. It's basically a make a wish type organization in Ohio that helps people with special needs get really cool birthday parties. So whatever they like, we're actually doing a basket raffle right now. The drawing is on May 11th. But and in the sense of stuff that's upcoming, I'm planning a voting event right now set for June 21st for the presidential election. I'm hoping to increase the voter rate in my county to get certain people in power out of power, who I won't say out of respect, but in the sense of gossip and rumors, I'm pretty much applying the autism advocacy to that because rumors are spread about people with autism all the time, and not just in the school place, but everywhere.
Mm.
Trust me, I've had one spread across my high school cross country team saying that I was faking my autism when they know that wasn't true. Yeah, I'm seeing your face. They said I was faking it.
What? Yeah, so for the listeners, my jaw just dropped because it is just shocking that the perception out there would be that somebody could fake autism. That just, yeah, wow, that blows my mind. And I think something that so I used to work in a little bit of context in South Africa. I used to work with children with disabilities or learning disabilities, but it obviously, in some circumstances translated into a disability. In other countries, it would actually be classified as a disability, whereas in South Africa, it was only seen as a learning disability. But then when I came to Australia, I saw the differences in how that was dealt with. And then I have now spoken to many people in the United States that are really frustrated with the system there, that there's no consistent practices in place or no consistent, procedures and policies in place to protect people. And people like yourself, people that, are clearly not faking autism. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that because that's just shocking. So
Yeah,
I just,
exactly.
yeah. Now, the last thing I'll say, and then we can move on to the next question. You were talking about something that I want to add there is you were talking about the onboarding of that bus person that was on the bus, and you mentioned such an important point is if there's not a proper screening process, and then there's not a proper onboarding process, how should these and would these people know what are the expectations of them? And that's very similar in a working environment as well. So what other advice would you give to any employer, for that matter, who would be employing someone with a disability so that other people will know, to treat them? Because I know it sounds so simple and so stupid how to treat a person with disability. I know I just want my daughter to be treated like a normal person, and I'm saying that in air quotations because I know that you're not meant to use the word normal. Like, let's use neurotypical because that's the correct political word. But what advice would you give? Because I'm so keen to hear from you who's experienced that.
I would say implement mandatory autism training and people with disabilities training, and not just in the workplace, but in schools. So make every single new employee, parent, and student take that course in order to be enrolled in the school or hired in the workplace, especially the parents, quite frankly, because I think everything starts at the home.
Mm-hmm.
If parents are negative and nasty and like to watch people like Alex Jones and Andrew Tate, if you know who he is, so he's a boxer, sir, who likes to record with his shirt off, wear glasses, and bash woman on his little show. Ooh, if they worship people like that, then the child's going to be negative and worship people 10 times worse than those people. Not that those people are any better. And I like what you said about how there shouldn't even be a room, and how you constantly talk with people in the States about that are frustrated with how the school system is, and the system that deals with people with autism is. I'm the same way. You would think the US government would at least pass a bill to help people like me by now. Implement early screen and do all these cool things. But no, instead, they pass a TikTok ban bill.
Mm.
They pass all this petty crap that, quite frankly, they don't have anything to do with. So I think if they focus less on the petty stuff and more on doing their job and helping people, then
Mm.
maybe not just people like me, but maybe the states as a whole and the world for that matter would be better off.
Mm. Yeah, and when you were talking just then, something came to mind. Every single person in this world just wants to be treated like a human being. They want to be treated with kindness. They want to be treated with fairness. They want to be treated with respect, and they want to feel valued. And I don't think it doesn't matter whether you're in a school environment, whether you're a work environment. Everybody wants to feel as if they are valued and respected. And yeah, I really like what you said about it starts at the home, because that is something that not a lot of people talk about either, is the fact that us as parents, and so I've got 3 children, and I'm so aware that if I come home and I gossip here at home and I'm negative and I'm all the thing of even the YouTube channels or the podcast that I listen to, and my kids can hear it in the background, I'm a role model to them, and they will 100% then take that to school and find a person that they can target, because to them that seems normal. To them that's the norm, because that's what their parents do, so why should they not do that? So tell me a little bit about and if you want to, but what's it been like in your family dynamics, support from family in terms of going to university or school, and then university, and then maybe even going into a work environment one day.
They've been 100% supportive of me. They've been in my corner, even when I didn't deserve it at times since I was born. My dad pushed to mainstream me in public school early on because he knew I was capable of so much more than what society expects for people like me. They implemented early screening for my diagnosis when I was 2 years old. They pushed me to go to university. They fund my student loan still. They offer me free room and board as long as I'm working. They've been 100% supportive of me. They truly have. It's tough for them. They still don't know what they're doing that time. So whenever I get mad or act out, but we don't have those anymore. Or I've learned to control those emotions, but that's personal, so I won't go into that. But they've always been supportive, and I want to say that I'm quite frankly one of the lucky people. I'm more high functioning than some people on the spectrum, because as I'm sure you know, there's a range of spectrums
Mm.
of autism. There's high functioning, which is where I'm at where you're extremely intelligent but socially awkward, and you have these stemming habits. Newton was high functioning, Dan Aykroyd, Einstein, Nietzsche, all these amazing people were on the spectrum, but still went on to do really amazing things. And then there's the lower end where you can't walk, can't talk, and you have to be taken care of for the rest of your life. So I will say one of my goals is to find a way to make people who are on the lower end of the spectrum on the higher end of the spectrum. I think with today's technology, we can make that possible.
Mm. Mm. I'm just thinking from your parents' perspective how proud I am of you. Like I would just think if my daughter were doing what you are doing right now, I mean, my chest is even just like shooting out, because I'd be so proud. So I just want to really say well done for what you are doing. And yeah, there are many people out there who don't have the guts to speak out the way you do, because they've been so bogged down and their mental health have been so negatively affected by all the rumors and the gossip, that they don't feel that they have the confidence, or they've got imposter syndrome, and they say, but who am I? I'm a nobody. But you don't do that. And so I am just really sitting here I'm now fighting in your corner as well. So you've got another follower.
Thank you, Rika.
Yeah. So is there any final advice, any final words that, you can pass on to the listeners of the show who are mainly leaders in all different industries, who will 100% be working with neurodivergent people and who might not have the knowledge? You already mentioned the training and like the importance of onboarding, but is there any final words that you want to say?
I would say keep spreading positivity, keeping you. And for people with autism, I would say you got this. You can thrive in life. And if someone tells you otherwise, don't give them the time of day. Cut them off completely because
Mm-hmm.
they're missing out on an amazing person.
Absolutely agree. And so then finally, Kadin, where can people connect with you if they want to follow you or just, follow your stories, even support you with your fundraising?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Facebook at Kadin Ronald, KadinRonald. That's not my real name, of course. That's just my first name and my middle name. But you can also find me on Instagram at 73 posts here, and you can find me on YouTube at Kadin73.
Okay. And I will make sure that I pop those links in the show notes below for all the listeners that they can just click straight through and they can go and follow your journey because I think it's so amazing. So, yeah, well, thank you so very much for your time today, all the way from America. I think it's amazing that I'm in Australia, you're in America, and we can just connect and talk about this amazing, just amazing topic. And two topics that are actually very close to my heart. So I've not actually shared to the listeners yet about my own journey with, having a child with autism. And this was just such a perfect segue into that. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Rika.
Thanks so much for listening. If this podcast blessed you in some way, the number one way you can thank me is by leaving a review. Your feedback means the world to me and lights me up every single time when I read it. And it makes me want to keep going. So please leave a review, and your review will also help other Christian women in leadership find the answers they are looking for. So whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the review section and leave that review. Then head over to womenoffaithinleadership.com and join our free Facebook community, and I look forward to engaging with you there.